The world is a tense place right now. Wars, coups, and civil unrest are unfolding in various corners of the globe. In Ukraine, some towns and cities resemble wastelands amid ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, a terror attack in Israel has escalated into a full-scale war with Palestine. Coups and military dictatorships plague parts of Africa and beyond. But amidst these global issues, there's a war that's been ongoing since their independence. And the conflict between these two countries is very different from what we typically see today. I'm talking about the war between India and Pakistan, and I guarantee you have not seen the type of war they're fighting. They've had over 3 wars, and each time Pakistan ended up losing, despite strong backing from the United States.
Hey, punk, stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself.
They even lost a big piece of land, which is a country now. Nowadays, things have really shifted. India and Pakistan haven't engaged in a full-scale war since 1999. But make no mistake, they're still locked in a shadow conflict. Pakistan has transformed from bad to worse, even verging on a nightmare scenario. I've cooked up 2 more vids on Pakistan's past antics, but it seems like they're gathering dust in the corner of the internet. Maybe you're all too busy to give Pakistan a second thought. And I get it, things are pretty wild over there lately. But hang on to your hats, because in this one, instead of dwelling on old goof-ups of Pakistan, I'm diving into why, before PM Modi wraps up his tenure, and assuming he's comfortably settling into his 3rd term, Pakistan's gonna be a goner. Even when Modi was newly elected back in 2014, analysts in Pakistan were already convinced that he was not going to be good for Pakistan. And it's already appearing to be a reality, with many in Pakistan pointing fingers at India. Pakistan has its fair share of shady experts. Take this guy in the red hat, for instance.
We are suffering from a 5th generation war. कोयटा से लेकर कराची से लेकर पेशावर से लेकर हमारे शहरियों के अंदर जो अर्बन वॉरफेयर एसिमेट्रिक डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड जंग अंदर की जा रही है, ये इस किस्म की डॉक्ट्रिन है जो आप इराक और सीरिया और लिबिया में देख रहे हैं आजकल, या यमन में देख रहे हैं, कि जिसमें बाहर से बड़ी फौजें हमला नहीं करती, लेकिन मुल्क को अंदर गद्दारों की वजह से, इकोनॉमिक कोलैप्स, पॉलिटिकल कोलैप्स की वजह से और दहशतगर्द प्रॉक्सी ग्रोहों को तैयार करके मुल्क को तबाह किया जाता है.
He's convinced Pakistan is in the midst of a 5th-generation war, blaming India for all sorts of unconventional tactics, terrorism, spy infiltration, even water warfare. This character's not only a hit on Pakistani news channels, but also in international media, where they lap up his every word, despite how far-fetched it all sounds. But hey, is he even remotely onto something? Is India's Prime Minister really responsible for Pakistan's current state? Well, let's take a closer look at whether he's spot on, completely off, or somewhere in between. When PM Modi came to power in 2014, Pakistan was pretty much in the same sorry state as the year before and the year before that. So, Modi didn't really have to do much, considering Pakistan was already on a self-destructive path. The wave of terrorism in Pakistan is believed to have started in 2000, and by 2014, extremist attacks were happening almost every month. There was even an assassination attempt on the former demigod, General Pervez Musharraf. Yeah, their generals are practically worshipped over there. But here's the twist. Pakistan points fingers at India for these terror attacks. In fact, the horrific 2014 Peshawar school attack, which Pakistan's foreign minister blamed on New Delhi. Even though it was claimed by the Tehrik-e-Taliban, the former foreign minister's statement was aimed at rallying domestic support and diverting attention away from internal issues by directing public anger towards India. It's like saying a country where most people are Hindus would help an Islamic jihadist attack a country where most people are Muslims. So, you might be thinking, if Pakistan's foreign minister is like this, what about Pakistan's other cabinet ministers? Well, get ready for a roller coaster. Allow me to introduce you to Pakistan's Science and Technology Minister.
हमारा मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में हमारा एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है. हमारा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ये है कि आप इतने पापड़ नहीं बेलने की ज़रूरत. चांद जो है वो नज़र आ जाता है, एग्जैक्टली उसकी लोकेशन पता होती है, ये पता होता है कब उसकी बर्थ हो रही है, किस टेरिटरी में उसका क्या अल्टीट्यूड होगा, एग्जैक्टली पता होता है।
Pakistan's former science minister decided to grace us with his valuable inputs when mocking India's Chandrayaan mission. I'm sure NASA and ISRO taking notes. Pakistan has a reputation as a safe haven for terror outfits, and I'm not just saying that. According to the US Country Reports on Terrorism, describes Pakistan as a terrorist safe haven. Pakistan's like a five-star resort for terrorists, thanks to sketchy governance and political apathy. That's why Pakistan found itself in hot water with FATF in 2018, and has been a regular customer on their list numerous times before. In fact, former Prime Minister Imran Khan admitted during a US visit that there are tens of thousands of armed terrorists chilling in Pakistan.
When you talk about the militant groups, they still have about 30 to 40,000 armed people who have been trained and in some sort of a theater, who fought either in Afghanistan, maybe in Kashmir.
We had created these jihadi groups in the 80s. We had indoctrinated them in the idea of jihad. That foreign occupation in Afghanistan, it was a religious duty to fight them. So all these groups, including Al-Qaeda, had arrived in Pakistan. And not only that, there were linkages between these groups and the Pakistani security forces, because they had created them.
NANI?
मैंने अपनी जिंदगी के पाकिस्तान के लिए लड़ा हूं। जो मैं कर सकता था मैंने किया।
And get this, over 60 of these groups are officially recognized by the US State Department as foreign terrorist organizations. It's like a buffet of bad guys. And to top it all off, sometimes multiple terror groups in Pakistan claim responsibility for the same attacks. So it's crystal clear that Pakistan and its leaders are complete fibbers, accusing India of terrorism. Otherwise, India would have ended up on the grey list, not Pakistan. What about Pakistan's current economic situation? Could Prime Minister Modi be to blame for it? Well, not entirely. You see, 50 years ago, Pakistan vowed to eat grass, to develop its own H-bomb, and fast forward to today, it's pretty much doing just that. Pakistan relies heavily on loans, just to get by, needing financial aid, even for basic commodities. They take these loans, splurge on unnecessary projects, drain the funds, and then rinse and repeat. And yes, just recently, the IMF approved a whopping $3 billion loan for Pakistan. The last time India borrowed from the IMF was way back in 1993. Clearly, India's doing something right to avoid constantly needing loans to survive, wouldn't you say? The truth is, Pakistan has mastered the art of surviving on loans, which is quite a feat, because not many countries can manage that, to be frank. The only nations that come close, or even surpass Pakistan in this regard, are Argentina, Egypt, and Ukraine. But then, India hits Pakistan, where it hurts the most. And no, India didn't launch a full-scale attack. Instead, India revoked Article 370, which granted special status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution carved out a special status for the state of JK, limiting the Indian Parliament's power to make laws for the state. The move rendered the regions of Jammu and Kashmir Valley into Union territories. However, they will have their own legislative assembly, similar to the state of Delhi. This move didn't sit well with Pakistan, to say the least. Their blood was boiling, their anger simmering like a volcano ready to erupt. This means, Pakistan can no longer stoke separatist movements. Because before the scrapping of Article 370, it was easy for Pakistan to create disturbance and nuisance in Jammu and Kashmir. Some corrupt politicians took advantage of this situation to fulfill their own agendas and reap personal benefits. But what could they do? They couldn't exactly declare war on India. After all, a country that relies on loans for survival can't afford to pick a fight with a powerhouse like India. So, what's their retaliation? They decide to suspend all trade with India. But unfortunately for them, it backfired big time. Here's why. India's biggest trading partners are the United States and China, but where does Pakistan rank? Way down at 48th. Even though India had already revoked Pakistan's most favored nation status and slapped a whopping 200% customs duty on imports from Pakistan, the impact on India was minimal. On the flip side, Pakistan heavily relies on imports from India for basic necessities like onions, tomatoes, and chemicals. The aftermath: veggie prices shot up by a whopping 500%. Meanwhile, India's just chilling, barely breaking a sweat over the whole ordeal. So, you see, PM Modi didn't even need to fire a single bullet to shake up Pakistan's economy. Because Pakistan is a country that's essentially sanctioned itself. Now, let's circle back to our original question. Is there even a remote chance that Pakistan might get completely obliterated before Modi's term wraps up? Well, India's gearing up for elections this year. And Modi's party seems to have a shot at winning again in 2024, all thanks to the incredibly capable leadership of the opposition party. Alright, let's dive into the scenario. Modi and his party aren't afraid to make radical or tough decisions, like demonetization or removing Article 370. Sometimes these policies resonate with the people, and sometimes they don't. But their confidence in making tough calls is fueled by their majority in the Indian parliament. In the realm of business, initiatives like GST, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, demonetization, and efforts against black money have pushed the Indian industry forward. PM Modi has also shown that the Indian industry doesn't need to lobby in New Delhi. His initiatives like Digital India, Stand Up India, and Startup India reflect his vision to put India on a different growth path. Let me ask you, did you ever imagine you'd see Article 370 removed in your lifetime? It takes strong political will to make such moves. On the flip side, let's look at Pakistan's leadership. There's no clear vision on how to propel the country forward. Just look at their 2024 election. The level of rigging was unprecedented. But can we really blame them? At the end of the day, they're not the ones pulling the strings, it's their army. They still follow the doctrine of bleeding India, with 1,000 cuts using homegrown extremists. But Modi's government is different from the previous governments. India also said no talks until Pakistan disbands its terror factory. And India knows Pakistan won't do it, because they see it as the only way to irritate India. When India conducted the Balakot airstrikes inside Pakistan, France supported the action, and the US termed it a counter-terrorism measure. This undoubtedly dealt a blow to Pakistan. India has shown a clear pattern of retaliation to any aggression from Pakistan, whether it's taking action against extremists or diplomatically isolating Pakistan. As for Pakistan's international image, India has effectively contributed to tarnishing it.
The world today sees them as the epicenter of terrorism. Now, I know we've been through 2.5 years of COVID, and a lot of us have brain fog as a result. But I assure you, the world has not forgotten.
Due to Pakistan's tarnished image and its association with extremism, the country struggles to attract significant foreign direct investment compared to India. Pakistan's reputation had already taken hits due to events like 26/11 and Osama's hideout being eliminated by US forces on Pakistani soil. What India has done further exacerbates this situation. India has initiated an aggressive diplomatic campaign against Pakistan, branding it a terroristan.
Mr. President, in its short history, Pakistan has become a geography synonymous with terror. The quest for a land of pure has actually produced the land of pure terror. Pakistan is now Terroristan.
And when a country of 1.4 billion people speaks, the whole world is bound to listen. So, indeed, there is a possibility that before Modi's tenure ends, Pakistan might not see the light.